for the announcement. I'd like to call the Plan Commission meeting to order on Tuesday, June 24th, 2025 at 5:30 p.m. Roll call. Berto here.
Green.
Taxi here.
Bell here.
Park here. Shampoo here.
Hardler.
Is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Motion by Kane. Second. Second by Harf. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Is there a motion to approve the meeting minutes from May 27th, 2025 as presented, or are there any questions, comments, corrections, deletions?
Correction.
Okay.
Page 4, line 17.
Okay.
There's an extra G.
Oh, yeah. With Berto adding G, the owner.
Wait, page 4.
Line 17.
17.
Anything else? I didn't catch that. That's good. Okay. Motion to approve as amended.
So moved.
Motion by Heidler.
Second.
Second by Champeau. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Comments, correspondence, and concerns from the public. Is there anybody joining us tonight that would like to address the Plan Commission? Yes.
Hi, everybody. Attorney Bjorn Johnson here, counsel for the Savards. We introduced a letter into the agenda packet for tonight's meeting, and we are present here for that matter. A couple of additional comments regarding that. First, my presence here as their counsel isn't really meant to be contentious, but more so advisory in nature to help them navigate this code fiasco. And then also, if you all have any comments or questions for us tonight, I think by virtue of my letter being in the packet is enough reasonable notice to the public that there might be some discussion on this item. So I think you should have some peace of mind if you have questions for us.
No, I have no peace of mind with that. It's not an agenda item, Bjorn. There is no questions. There is no conversation.
If somebody else thinks differently, we'll accept any questions.
Oh, were there other things that you wanted to add?
No, that's it. Just to note that I'm here to answer any legal-based questions. That anyone has.
Anyone else?
Okay, there was some letters. There was an email from Wendy Michelle Cooper. And there was one from, oh, and that was it. And then the letter from Bjorn Johnson on behalf of the Savards.
All right, we will move on to item number 5, public hearing, conditional use permit, non-conforming structure addition, Carl Fauerbach, 10885 North Bay Shore Drive.
Okay, so let's open the public hearing at 5:34. Mr. Fauerbach was going to participate via Zoom, but Zoom is not working. So I think if we have questions for Mr. Fauerbach, we may have to delay a decision.
I am here.
Good, good. We just can't see you, Mr. Fauerbach, but I'm glad to hear that you're at least.
Let's
Okay.
see.
So Carl Fauerbach requests a conditional use permit as required by section 66.0911, parent 4 parent of the municipal code. Mr. Fauerbach proposes to build a 17-foot by 18-foot addition to a non-conforming cottage located at 10885 North Bay Shore Drive, known as Rainbow Cottages, Unit 4, and in a single-family residence R4 zoning district.
R1.
R1, I'm sorry, R1. You have received a brief staff report, a copy of the survey that, of the existing conditions map that Mr. Fauerbach had submitted, along with building plans, and then some letters of support, as well as a letter from Mr. Fauerbach. That's all I have for you. We did discuss this in a little more detail last month when we were doing a cursory review on this. So, Mr. Fauerbach, could you just explain your project or address any concerns we might have to get things going, and then from there we can ask for others in the crowd to speak, and then see if there's any questions from the Plan Commission.
Sure. So the project consists of an existing 19-foot wide by 29-foot cabin, non-winterized, not on a foundation, but on cement pads. We are proposing to build an addition onto that, pretty much identical to the neighbors in the same association, which was done in 2012, where the addition was, our addition would be 19-foot wide by 17-foot long, extending to the east, and non-conforming because it's along the property line. So you all have letters from our neighbors on that particular property line and neighbors on the south property line who signed off on another owner's project in 2012. All of the owners of the association, which are 4, have agreed to the proposed project. We are going to go from a 2-bedroom, 1-bath to a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, or bath and a half. And I know there was some concerns about working and not destroying vegetation and what have you. The project is so small that there wouldn't be a problem with that. So anything that needed to be lifted in place or dug out can be done from our driveway side. We do have to remove 3 cedar trees. We don't take that lightly because one of the special things about that location is the canopy of cedar trees that we have.
Mr. Feuerbach, one thing you can't see is I did pass out a survey that we had. So members received a copy of the survey that you had given us as part of your application. And then I also, while you were speaking, handed out a copy of the survey from the file, which showed the location of all the buildings as far as their relationship to the property lines. Basically, all the buildings, they range from the one closer to the water is as close as 2.9 feet to the water. Across from that, it's 3, I'm sorry, to the side property line, to the side lot line. The one across from that, which is number 4, is about 3.5 feet to the south property line. The unit, I'm sorry, this is backwards here. So yours, it shows that yours is about 3.1 feet to the north property line. Basically, it's showing how close the structures are to the lot lines. It's showing the distance of that shed and that it's outside of your common elements or your elements. And I had tried to scale that. The survey I have has been reduced. Looks like it's maybe about 7 feet possibly from your common element line.
It's 8.5 feet, but what I should add is it is not, it's on cement blocks, so it can be slid over if necessary, if there's a concern. Nobody in our association has a problem with it. And again, it's 8.5 feet from what we're proposing.
Yeah, from a code perspective, we'd be concerned if that was moved closer to the road because then it would violate the road setback. But I did just want to let you know, so while we're talking here and they're referencing surveys, they do have another survey in front of them.
Would that be the Stantec survey?
You had submitted the Stantec survey, and what was in the file was a survey that was prepared by Lee Telfer.
Do you know what year that was?
No, but I'm thinking, yeah, I don't know. I can't read it.
Well, so the setback off the road, I can't give you the actual foot, but it is the drawing I have. The shed is at least 30 feet back from the road, or from the right of way, and we're only talking about a foot, because you're asking for a 10-foot setback.
As far as the shed goes, it's too close to the road already, so we would not want to see that moved closer to the road. Unless
Well-
the commission would, but
Sure.
just had to clarify that, so you knew we were looking at two different surveys.
So everybody knows this is a common shed that everybody uses. We have garden tools, a lawnmower, wheelbarrow, that kind of thing, and there's some summer stuff.
Does anybody have any questions or comments? Sure, does anybody in?
Yeah, I just, pertaining to what you're talking about. So in R1, so accessory structures are supposed to be 10 feet from the principal structure. This is 8.5 with the addition. And
Mr. Feuerbach, didn't you say it was 8.5 to your common element line? Or is it 8.5 to your addition?
It's actually 8.5 to the shed from the proposed addition.
Which is less.
And so Julie, where are you coming up with, if this is an accessory structure, that it's too close already to the front setback?
To the road, it would be road setback.
Because it doesn't say anything for accessory structure in the chart. But that's for the principal structure. It is not defined under accessory.
I'm wondering if that is a mistake.
Oh, wait, accessory structures aren't allowed in the front yard. That's why.
That's why.
And the reason I raised the question on this in our discussion at the last meeting was because, if I'm reading this correctly, that a accessory structure that close to the primary structure is going to require a 1-hour fire rated wall between the two.
Mr. Feuerbach, if you say that it's on concrete blocks, do you, I don't know the size of it. Would it be easy to pick it up and place it someplace else on the property?
Well, I'm sure you could do that. Are you working with a number that actually shows? Now, I show that the center line of the shed is 70 feet off the center line of the road.
It's just that accessory structures aren't allowed in the front yard at all. It's not about how many feet it is, just.
Well, so, and I don't want to argue the point, but that whole area is covered with trees and nobody can see that from the road. It is pretty shielded from all of the vegetation.
I'm just gonna pull that up on the county's, or no, maybe, no, on Google's map. See if that we can confirm that for the record, not that we don't take your word for it.
Sure.
What is the address again?
10885.
Thank you.
You can't see it in there on Google.
You can or can't?
I can't.
Now that area is very heavily wooded right now.
The GIS actually gives you a little better view, but it's still.
Not.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Is it considered in the front yard when you have to go in and the front of the houses, cabins face each other? This is really from their road, you in the unit. It's
The
on the
front
side.
yard is what would face,
So
face
it's
shore.
not really the front yard, it's just whatever is facing the road, the highway, I should say. But how long has this thing been here?
as long as, I think, I don't know, Julie, you would have to confirm that this is okay. If, they wouldn't want to do it anyway, most likely, but as long as that foliage remains as dense as what it is, and you can't see it, I am okay with that. Is that fair?
It is fair.
Is that-
So with the conditional use permit, we can put conditions on that are reasonable, that uphold the code. You know, the code doesn't want structures in the front yard. We want to keep the front yards open. We want to maintain vegetation. We don't want trees to be cut down. So a condition requiring that the vegetation remain so that it screens the shed is consistent with the code and would be a valid condition.
Yeah, and with cedars that don't lose their foliage, it's covered all the time.
Would that also include that it cannot be replaced? When they want to rebuild it, they would at that time have to comply with the code.
Yes. And they would have to find a new spot for it.
Are there concerns with the distance from that shed to the proposed structure?
I know what the code says, because it's just a garden shed. Is it metal? Is it wood?
It's wood.
Do you have concerns?
I mean, only from the standpoint that our fire codes are
Right.
written there with a very intent purpose. Did they store any fuels for lawnmowers in there? Did they? Or is it just tools for, hand tools?
Mr. Fauerbach, could you answer that question?
Sure. There are hand tools and a lawnmower, along with a gas can.
There's fuel in there.
Can you also confirm if it's a wood or metal storage building? Because our new survey says metal storage building.
It is wood with asphalt shingles.
I mean, I store my riding lawnmower in my garage. My bedroom's
But
above.
you also have a fire door between.
But my bedroom's above the garage, because I'm built into the bluff. And I have gas cans plus the fuel that's in the mower.
All I'm doing is pointing out that
Right.
we're going against what our codes are if we approve that change also.
I think at some point we can make having a shed more complicated than it needs to be. In that case, I mean, if it's storing fuel in there, yes, could that fuel combust? Sure. But I think to your point, Skip, I think maybe we should revisit the code when that comes up. I get what you're saying. We should, if we have code, we should follow it. Otherwise, why do we have it?
And if they want to replace it in the future, they have to find a different spot for it and meet all the setbacks.
Okay.
I'm okay with that.
What is the distance of setback that you require
It's 10 feet
from an existing structure?
between buildings.
What is the setback from the road?
Well, it wouldn't be allowed in the front yard at all. It would have to go waterward of your unit.
Okay,
If you were to purchase a new one, you wouldn't be able to put it back in that same place. You'd probably have to put it between units 3 and 4, or 1 and
Yeah.
2, or something of that nature.
that's fair enough.
Are there other questions from the Plan Commission? Does anybody joining us tonight like to speak for or against, or comment, or? Yes, sir.
I just have a comment on this. I don't know if this is approved, does that allow the other people that have houses on that same lot to expand theirs also? Are we setting a precedence here?
Not with a conditional use permit, no. It's a case by case.
And they previously did expand, if I
Yeah.
remember correctly.
He's the last one to expand on this property. He just happens to be next to the shed.
All you have to do is file the paperwork, pay the fee, and come talk to us and for conditional use permit. Well, if there's nobody else from the public that wants to comment, we'll close the public hearing at 5:52. If there's no other questions or comments from the commission, then a motion would be in order.
I do have one other question.
Sure, Skip.
Mr. Vonbach, when we talked last month, I expressed concern about the construction process and a little bit of distance between you and the neighbors to the north. Have you had a discussion with your builder on that at all?
He may have went off, but he did tell me he did talk to his builder
Okay.
and he was not concerned about the trees.
Well, and he also stated earlier that, you know, if they need to do anything.
Right, that they can crane over, and that
Right.
partly addresses, I just was asking if he had had the conversation, like he said he would.
He did tell me when we talked on the phone today that
Okay,
he
so
did. Yeah.
all right, great. I have no other questions.
So what were the conditions, Julie, that the motion should include?
So it would just be as long as the shed remains in that location, the vegetation is to remain as dense as it is, so it screens the shed. And if it is replaced, there has to be a new location found that meets code. That complies with the code.
And a permit would be required
Yeah, I know.
for that.
That's a given, but yes, a permit.
Anyone care to make that motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Hart,
Second?
second by Shampo. All those in favors?
Aye.
Favor, say
Aye.
with an aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Luna View Development Agreement Amendment.
Okay, so if you remember, we had recommended the board amend Mr. Goki's development agreement for Luna View to allow him some time to complete some work that was out there. When it went to the board, there was some controversy about him working in the summertime and what actually had to be completed out there yet. So it was remanded back to the Plan Commission. And it was also established that he could do no further work out there until he is approved to do work out there. And he had to clean up the area or the project, so, you know, get the dirt off the road, make sure it was safe. So he did do that and he completed that he was told he had to complete that by Friday. So he's no longer working outside. They cleaned it up as of Friday.
Did they do the pipe?
They did get the pipe in. Mr. Goki said he wanted, there's some hammering that had to be done on it, which right now is on hold until fall, but the pipe is in the ground. One thing that happened after, so we had the board had their meeting last Tuesday. During the night, a big semi came up, dropped off huge concrete pipes or culverts. They were sitting in the road. So I had to allow Mr. Gopi time to get those off the road. They were clearly a safety hazard. So he got those off the road, got them on site, got them buried, got the gravel over. There is some, I don't know what the hammering is that to fuse it, Al, or something? Which is-
So where the garbage bins are going, there's some hammering next to the north stairwell that needs to be done. But we were looking at the site, and if we move the dumpsters to the other side of the parking lot, which makes more sense, we don't have to do that much hammering. The only thing they do have to hammer is one catch basin yet. So those big, huge pipes, which made all that noise with that big, huge backhoe, that's where all the noise was coming. They had to dig down. It was almost 20 feet. But those, they were 5 foot by 50 foot pipes. There was 3 of them. And so that's where a lot of the noise was. So there's one more catch basin that has to go on the side of the building. So that's like 7 feet deep, and that would have to be hammered. So we're meeting tomorrow to see if there's a way that we can do it without hammering, and just because right now there's no water retention. Everything is in, and that's all that has to be done now is in the back of the yard, they have to put the drain tile, the yard drains, and they have to connect those catch basins and those pipes that are there. So that's gonna probably take another 3 or 4 days to get that in, and then the gravel, and another week, and then landscaping in the parking lot. So I tried to get a real firm timeline with everybody, and they're like, well, from if we were to start Monday, we're probably talking about 3 weeks to finish everything, get the parking lot in and all that, and retain the water. But the everything is there. The catch basins and everything is sitting in the parking lot right now. So they had to stop. So when we got the approval last time, I just kept moving, and these big pipes that got delayed. So there's one company that does it. They're called Contact out of Milwaukee. And it's they're pretty much kind of have a monopoly, I guess, on these pipes, because we're waiting for them, and the only company that does it. So when it was delayed, they were supposed to go in early May. Actually, I'm sorry, they were supposed to come, April. And so then they got backed up, and they got backed up. So that was holding everything else, because you can't put anything around the building until those are in. Because you can't do any construction or anything around the building, because you would destroy all the catch basins and the drain tile. So those big pipes had to go in first, and then everything gets connected to that, and then they fill all the gravel in. Do that. So anyway, so now everything is there because it got delivered, and you can't really stop that, because if you stop that, it's a huge fine or whatever, because you got to pay them to stock it, because those pipes, once they build them, they go directly to the job site. So anyway, they did that, and the noise was it was way more than I thought it was, and I had a talk with Jerry from Sister Bay Yacht Club, and they did say, if you need to finish, they're okay with it now. But when that noise was happening, it was crazy, because they had to go so far down. And they didn't hammer, but they were taking these big stones. It's all rock there. So when they were putting these pipes in, they had to, do all that. And it was loud, I felt bad, but it's like the water retention on this site is honestly enough for like a 100-home subdivision. It's huge pipes. It's, there's 10 huge catch basins. The water that we're retaining on this is extreme. It's meant for like 100-year plus. But when Robert Lee did it, they said, well, Sister Bay directed them that we needed to do the water retention to the very maximum, and that's what was designed. So there, once this is done, there will literally be no water going to the yacht club. There's no way. I mean, this is like the very extreme. If you look at right now, there's catch basins, there's manholes, there's drain tile, there's still like 20 pipes that have to go in, and that's all for retaining this water. So yeah, right now they stopped. I'm just waiting for, what happens, I guess.
So Jerry from Yacht Club had called me, and it was my understanding they were willing to give you two more, if it were up to them. They were willing to listen to it or deal with the mess, so to
They
speak, for
talked to
2
the
more
board, the
weeks.
board
Was
agreed,
that,
so that was 2 weeks, but that was from Monday, because I told them I need at least 10 business days to get this done, so.
so 2 weeks?
So 2 weeks.
Yeah.
2 weeks, and then, but everything from here on in isn't gonna be that huge noise that was going on. It was extreme. So those big machines are leaving, and so the rest of it is a smaller backhoe, Bobcat, and then the one catch basin that has to get hammered in, that's a smaller machine that does that, but that is, that's 1 day. They need 1 day to hammer. So,
Well, I know you had talked with the Yacht Club quite a bit, and they had quite a bit of communication with me, various members and Jerry. Were you able to talk to any of the neighbors out there? Because I did.
yeah, there were a couple neighbors and I talked to them. I just talked to some today, I forgot the names, but, I mean, honestly, some of them seem, pretty good with it, and we didn't have anyone that was upset or anything like that. Nobody came up to us and, was, upset. Jerry was the only one that came to talk to me about, what was going on there, so, well, it did.
Did the development agreement say that he could not work between July 1st and Fall Fest?
That's what I'm checking for, because, he's not in the B3
Right,
district.
right.
He's in B2.
And I don't, does it state it someplace else? Because I was looking in B2 and couldn't find where it says that.
I could not find it either, but I think it's in the, maybe in nuisance. Because I could not find it in the zoning code. I could not find
I
it.
mean, it could be in the very beginning under site, development or something that's just kind of, but it should. Do we have it in B3? I know it's always part of our development agreement, certainly if it's downtown. But I'm just trying to see if it was in B3, it should be in the exact same place as B2.
I do not think it's in there. I think it always comes in the development agreement, and Mr. Gopke's development agreement,
Does not state that.
if you remember, the template that we used was changed 2 years ago. We changed it again. After having issues with like noise and garbage from some properties, it kept evolving. His development agreement is predated that. When I look at the noise and hours of operation, it was the project construction or demolition may only occur between the hours of 7 a.m. and 9 p.m. on weekdays and Saturdays, and 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. on Sundays. Now, I will say this, despite the fact that the development agreement said he could work at 7 a.m., he has been holding off because the neighbors asked him to. I don't know how that has impacted his project, but the Yacht Club, had concerns because they said, we have guests, they don't want to hear this at 7 a.m. So Al has been, I don't know about, well, the project really didn't get started on time, but I know after Al and I talked, I think last week and I think the week before too, he was trying to prevent them from working or start making the noise before 9 a.m. But technically the agreement allowed him to work at 7 a.m. And then on Sundays, it was 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Roadway construction or underground utility construction shall only occur between the hours of 8 a.m. and 9 p.m. on weekdays. I guess you could say the work that was done would meet that, so maybe it should have been eight AM, but regardless, you've been trying to hold off till 9 AM. Here we go, it is in here, it is. It's no exterior construction will be allowed to occur on the property that is the subject of this development agreement between June 30th and Fall Fest weekend. Now, I will say this, I think we held you up. You had until June 30th and we had you stop, the board had you stop. He tried to get an
Well, hold on,
extent-
so you said, but wasn't it expired 2 years after the zoning permit was? provided, that
The
was-
original development agreement.
Yeah, so we didn't hold him up necessarily, he didn't have till June 30th, he had until, was it like the 22nd of May or whatever
I think it's how you look at it, because I look at it as when he got the permit, that extended this document goes with that permit, right? Because I think it was even issued,
September.
it was issued, so the permit he had said it had to be developed in accordance with the development agreement, so that way, if this expired, it was still tied to the permit, right?
But I hear what you're saying, I understand what you're saying, but we had a conversation in recent years, I think it's been since you've been here, that how we can't come up with a development agreement and put dates in there that then don't match the permit. And so that they need to coincide, so that one doesn't override the other, that they both have to have the same dates. So if somebody chooses not to sign a development agreement for 6 months, that doesn't mean that his zoning permit is good from 2 years from that date. It's the date that it is approved or shortly thereafter.
I agree, Denise, and this is the project that made that happen, because I had said, hey, you know, the way this is written, he has 2 years to get his permit. So you get let's say you get a development agreement in 2010, you have 2 years to get it, that's 2012. And then, hey, that permit is good for a year, so as long as you start it, you can renew it again. So technically, you could be building 4 years after that development agreement was issued. And so I brought that to the commission's attention because of this very property. And then we did change our development agreement template to make it consistent. This, however.
Okay, so this was what catapulted that conversation.
Right, so this one is not part of that.
And everybody just wants this done.
I think it should be said that there's a number of neighbors that aren't the yacht club that are quite upset, and that you actually did talk to them. You did. They did not feel very good about what you'd said to them. I don't think it was they took the offer to buy them not very well.
The what?
Your offer to buy them a beer to make it better, that was not received well by the folks you talked to last week. I don't think that we can just look at the yacht club as being the only people impacted by this. I get that we want to get this done, but where it is, this has caused a tremendous impact back in that neighborhood.
Yeah, I've heard that, you know, I've only heard from the yacht club and then the trustee. So I have not heard from other neighbors, but that doesn't mean they haven't contacted other people.
But this is the body, or you are the person that people should be complaining to. We can't necessarily take it on hearsay if they're not here saying, yeah, right?
Yeah, I mean, as far as our office goes, we heard from the yacht club and like I said, a village trustee. So we heard from.
And so. So what was also brought up, because I think when we gave the 90-day extension, and let's get some clarification on this at our last month's meeting, it was because of the pipe and the delay and everything else. And so we said fine, and we thought that was reasonable at that time. And then other conversation that was had at the board last week, that there's a lot more than just the pipe in the ground that has to be finished.
Can I say something?
Yes,
So when I said the pipe, the pipe is the main thing that goes in. After that pipe, which is buried, then you have to do everything else that, maybe I didn't explain that good enough last time, but the pipes go in, and then after that, then the gravel, the parking lot, the landscaping, goes in after that. So when I said those pipes need to go in, that is the main part of it, but then of course this other stuff follows. So I know it's being said, but it's like 3 weeks I can have this done. If I don't have it done in 3 weeks, I'll stop until whenever. But I know that right now, everyone that has been working on the site, and they know the situation, and they're all on my side. They want to get this done. They understand, and they said they'll do whatever it takes to get this done. Dale from Harbor Construction, he's doing, all the grading, parking lot, some of the landscaping. Dorner is doing the rest of the pipes. They have, Dave, for hammering, and then Dave's away for finishing all those pipes. So, even though it's like 3 weeks, I think it's better than that, but I don't want to say 3 weeks and it takes 4, but
so can I have you pause momentarily?
Yeah.
So the board didn't grant the 90-day extension. They remanded it back here. According to the document, because this was the catapult to change the template, he still has till June 30th. He can still legally, according to that document, work until June 30th.
Right, which is the end of the week.
Right. Well, it's 6 days from now.
6 days, and had we not went to the board, he would have had the 3 weeks to get that done by June 30th.
Would have been done. So. So even if we made a recommendation for a 21-day extension, we have to wait a month for the board.
July 7th,
15th.
17th.
Yes, that's okay.
But legally, he can work for the next 6 days.
what about the days? I mean, the days that were taken away. I mean, I can get this done. I can get this done in 3 weeks. This is.
How many days?
This
We
is-
don't have the authority to say, go beyond the 30th.
Yeah, the time that was lost was the week, right? Because he was, plan
Yeah.
commission had met, kept working until the board meeting on Tuesday. And that's when things stopped.
So
And then,
from last Tuesday to this Tuesday.
July 7th, basically.
Sure.
So, because of what the gentleman said, I'm sorry, I don't know your name. Because of, I guess, what the board said, about, I think what I'm trying to understand is that the problem was the noise, or that, is that what I'm understanding?
I think it was the noise.
Okay, so it was.
Also the vehicles, I think that the parking.
I have not been happy with the parking. And
No,
I mean,
So, okay, so I'm just trying to just think about this. So basically what they're mad at is the noise and the parking. But like you said, it's the pipes that are gonna go in that has to be done, and then the grading, and then the asphalt. Well, if we were to take into consideration, I understand, I totally understand how people feel, right? Because they're renting, and I understand, and it's, you know.
Or just live there.
Yeah, or just live there, you're right. But taking that into consideration, even like, let's say it wasn't the busy season right now, and it was October, November, you still have people that are living there, and there's construction every year. So at some point, people have to kind of like, yeah, I know it's not great, it's not a great situation to have, because you have noise, but you're never gonna stop construction for the end of time in Sister Bay, right? I mean, there's always gonna be some type of development or construction or noise for the people who live here. But for this time that's going on, let's say we would have had these 2 weeks, all of that would have been done. And like right now, we would have probably just been working on the grading and the concrete and, you know, but if the problem was the trucks, then Ellen and I, well, not me, but I'm sure that he would have been like, hey, get all these trucks out of here. You have to go park at, like they're doing it right now, like you need to go park over there, you know, et cetera, et cetera. You don't want the trucks and you don't want the noise, right? But there wouldn't be that much noise because the drilling would have already been done. So I just think as a solution, if we were able to finish the drilling and get that done, then we could just, like you said, we have until June 30th. Right? And then we just stop the, you know, whatever we get done, obviously, because it's June 30th, right? And then after that, we could just, you know.
Well, no, I mean, everything coincides.
No, I know, but the problem that they're upset about is the drilling, the hammering.
Yeah, but that's
sorry.
gonna be done.
No,
Done.
so then you could finish, like, we could finish the rest.
Yes, Patrice?
I have a comment. So working in hospitality my entire life, I can tell you that I know that things can be done for weeks. But if it's not, that's even more of a problem. For example, the yacht club, anyone who has got a short-term rental in that area, if you're renting and you hear all this noise, even if it's just putting in gravel, making a driveway, whatever you are, making noise. We had a similar situation in Fish Creek with the construction of the community church. Our guests were up in arms. We are on vacation. We save up all year to come here and spend $500 a night to stay. And we are staying in all this construction that year. We ended up having to refund their lodging or give them free meals or give them gift certificates to come back for a free stay for next year. So it impacts your neighbors, the whole neighborhood, the hospitality industry there, and all those short-term rental people greatly. So it's a lot of money when you add it all up. It's a lot of hardship when you add it all up. This should have been finished before, you know, the 30th of June.
Good points.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like you want to think that it's going to be done in 3 weeks, but I think there's something else that I heard you say, Al, is you were surprised how much noise was made. That gives me a moment of pause saying, okay, well, the rest of the stuff we're going to do isn't going to make that much noise. Well,
But if you
you
look at the
didn't think
job,
that was going to make noise.
but if you look at the job site, that machine that's there, it's massive. And that needed to be the machine that's digging everything out, that's gone. The machine that they need now is a backhoe that's maybe half that size. So the big machine, that was making that real loud noise. That loud noise will never have, that's done. So, except for that, where that catch basin is, that hammering, but that was tearing up rocks that were 20 feet down. Those big pipes were buried from where the top of the driveway was, almost 20 feet down. So when they were doing that, it was making it was making noise, but from what's happening from here on in, there will not be that noise like that. It's gone. That machine is done.
Okay, how about this? I don't even know if we can do it, but I'm just gonna say it out loud. So you have the next 6 days to do whatever you can do legally according to your document. We can recommend an extension, whatever the plan commission thinks appropriate, if we want to do that, if it's 21 days, if it's a month, whatever. But the caveat would be is that you would need signatures from the yacht club, from Chad Canacco, from, I don't know how many rentals are in the old Razor House. Brad and Trish Lindenberg, Lee and Debbie Lagerquist. And I don't know the other people that live down the road. Kim's got an STR. He would have to sign off on that.
Mr. Nara,
So
And if they all said that, or I would say a majority, you'd have to get whatever percentage, 75, 80% of the neighbors to sign off on this extension to get the project done and be over with within whatever time frame we say, and that's that, then that's a possibility that the board could approve it. Yeah, you're still gonna have a gap there, but until they meet again in July. But at least everybody's informed. You have a signature. We know the neighbors would rather have it get done now, and if they don't, you can get done what you can get done in 6 days. I don't know, does that make any sense?
yeah, and then if not, he'd have to wait till Fall Fest. The extension would be Fall Fest.
You
Like
think-
if neighbors don't agree, if he
Right.
doesn't get the signatures, he would have to finish after Fall Fest, right?
Well, could they do something because it slows down after Labor Day? Like for a couple of weeks in there? I mean,
Do you think you can get the balance of the air hammering done in the next 6 days?
100%.
By starting after 9.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other thing is just not, you can't do anything, you can do all the interior work. I mean, I know
Oh,
some
yeah,
of
no,
that, so
I
it's
know.
not like your project's
No, I
being
know.
halted.
But the interior work is we're almost there. So I mean, if we can do this, I mean, I can guarantee you guys 3 weeks. I mean, it'll be done. If it's not, shut me down.
But
But
I think what you said is good, like, if we get,
oh, with the signatures, yeah.
to me, yeah, like, if we get the signatures, we'll do as much as we can until the 30th, and, until what? The meeting is next
July 15th.
Okay, so,
So in 2 weeks, we could, but that's only if the plan commission thinks that this is an option. You would have to determine how long the extension would be. 21 days, 30 days, and what percentage of the neighbors. I was gonna try to,
What do you think, well, just having a non-binding, we want to have the neighbors speak out and let's let the board make that decision based on that. How many people sign off on it? Let's not give them a hard number, because it's gonna be a non-binding thing anyway. I mean, it's not,
We could invite the neighbors to the board meeting.
Yeah.
And if they show up, if they care, they're gonna show up. And if not,
or they're going to write letters. Either way.
I mean, this is a project that's had a very significant impact on the village for the whole process. I mean, I have a book down there. I have listened to the air hammer last year, day after day after day. Because it's not the way it looks like. So I totally understand those people around it are ready to be done with listening to that.
Yeah, and when we were hammering, it was 8 weeks of hammering. So they won't let us blast.
Yeah.
And I understood that, you know, but, it was 8 weeks, and if you blast, it's one day, it's done, and then they take all the
There's
rocks
also
out.
potential impact farther back, so.
Well, that's exactly right, you know, so, and I get it, but that's why when you're hammering, it was, you know, it was 8 weeks.
Yeah, it went on for a long time.
Oh, my God, and I think the guys that were doing it literally thought they'd be there maybe 2 weeks. And it was just, it was hard, it was, you know, it was a certain type of, it was bedrock, whatever, but when it comes off and it's like this white powder comes from it, it means it's really super dense. Well, it's cobblestone, and then it's like it's yellow stone, that's easy. But then when you go so far down, it's like this white solid stone, and there's no way to tell it, but it was tough, and those guys were, you know.
This is why I asked if you think you can get the hammering done in the next 6 days, because
Yeah.
I expect your neighbors would be a lot happier to have that
When it's
behind
done,
them.
yeah.
And doing landscape work and some gravel work is disruptive, but it's a lot less
Right,
impactful.
it's bobcats, it's a bobcat, and it's, you know, stuff like that, so.
So what I want to do is to make sure we get all of the neighbors' names that we think should be notified about this into the record, to make sure that someone has contacted them, that they are aware that they do have a say in this. All right,
Are
so,
we worried about Central Bluff Estates above there? Because that certainly, they hear it, it's not quite as much because it's shooting underneath them, but they're still hearing it. And then is it all of Sister Bluff Estates? Because that goes on quite a ways around. I think that we should put a distance on it instead of arbitrarily, or just trying to come up with all the people, so we have.
well, we use 300 feet for everything else.
We used to know how to do that in the GIS, so I'm sure there's a way to still do it on the new one.
Yeah, the new one sucks.
So I'm gonna try and summarize.
Good luck with that.
Okay. One, Mr. Goki can continue until June 30th as his development agreement states, starting at 9 a.m., not before. There's gonna be a recommendation to the village board that he receive a 2-week extension.
2.
Well, you're getting
You
a
said
week
you got a
now.
week now, you said you need 3 weeks, so.
Yeah, but
Well, but it's not a full week, I mean.
it's not, tomorrow's already
Okay,
Wednesday,
well, I'm just throwing it out here. So it'd be
Okay.
recommend a 3-week extension
right, starting July.
from
Well,
the date of the board meeting.
right,
And then, that's gonna be recommended to the board. In the meantime, we are gonna invite all owners within 300 feet, advise them of the meeting where it's gonna be discussed.
Owners and residents.
but I think we need, I think we have to, sorry to interrupt you, I think we have to craft a well-worded letter to all of them if we're mailing it out, that this is the option. And if it doesn't move forward, then they pick up it after Fall Fest. So I think we just need to make sure that we give them all the information in the letter that we are mailing them.
Sure. Got it.
Can I review that?
The letter?
Yeah.
Sure.
Would it, okay, so if they don't approve it, is there any possibility that I could do it after Labor Day when it slows down during the week
Instead of Fall Fest?
instead of Fall Fest?
Or just Monday.
Well, that would, we would put, we could ask that at the board meeting.
Okay,
Like even maybe Monday through Thursday when it's not so busy, maybe not Friday, Saturday, so, you know, but we don't bother the people that.
Sure, I would ask that of the board at their meeting.
I don't think we should make this any more difficult than it's already been, because an unfinished project is not good for our village. It's not good for him, it's It's not good for the people that want to buy the units. We live up at the top, and we listened to blasting all down Fieldcrest, the apartments when they were going in all summer, each time that these buildings and units were built. I lived through it. I mean, we weren't told when they were gonna be dynamiting, and then you'd hear a little beep, 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 and everything would blow, and I've got a few extra cracks in my living room, but
Or you must have been out of the zone then to get a letter and have
we
your.
got no information. And Fieldcrest is 2 blocks, whatever direction that is, west of us. So 5 homes went up in one summer, and we got to listen to all that all summer long. So it is the way it is up here because it's just constant construction. And I don't like seeing something sit, like he's gonna be forced to be sitting now for how many months after the end of June if he can't get this stuff done. So the Labor Day, after Labor Day midweek, I think that would be good because it does slow down a lot. Let him just finish this job. A finished project brings taxes into the village. So that's my opinion.
Please, I mean, if you can do that, I would, yeah.
The board will decide that. But I suppose we should give, do we think that that would be all right? I guess there should be a nod from the plan commission if the board discusses it. Do we think after Labor Day? Okay.
I
If
think
it
a
doesn't, if it-
4-day work week after Labor Day is
Yeah.
reasonable.
I have to admit that while I'm not generally in favor of these continued extensions, having stormwater retention not complete is a pretty significant thing.
it is.
We did require a lot from Mr. Golke. I think he's the only one we ever did that with,
$380,000.
as far as the.
Well, I'm just saying that the fact that they're not able to complete it is what.
But I also think that being so close to the bluff, there's a lot more at stake there, which is something that whole other issue.
absorption of water. but-
Yeah, so I mean, like, there's a reason why. It wasn't just the village saying, oh, we want this because we're difficult. There's some very good logic behind it.
Okay, do you want to continue on, Julie?
Well, that's what I have. So I have, June 30th, can start before 9 AM. Plan Commission recommends to the board that we have a 3-week extension and all neighbors within 300 feet will be notified of that board meeting. It will be explained to them what the purpose is, the options that if the board does not approve it, then the project cannot resume again until Fall Fest.
Or maybe Labor Day, after Labor Day.
Denise is gonna review that letter, and then the plan commission by consensus did agree that they would recommend to the board that they felt he should be allowed to resume operations 4 days a week, beginning Labor Day, after Labor Day
We
weekend.
can say Monday to Thursday.
Sure. I think that's,
Is there a reason to say the June 30th in this motion? I mean, that's something that's already settled as far as I can tell. I don't think it
well, I
needs to
think,
be in this motion.
I think
think
because
to make
he
it clear-
stopped, I think we need to make clear that that is what it says, and we need to reaffirm that.
Okay, I think it already says that, so it says that. I don't think we need to say it there, but that's a difference of opinion.
Well, because it was stopped by the board, even though he could have had this whole week. So, right, somebody care to make that motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Hart. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Kane. All those in favor respond with an aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Bell?
Yep.
Motion
Because of the
carries.
30-day, because of the June 30th, just to get on the record.
All right. We'll see you in 3 weeks.
Thank you. You guys
Okay.
were fair. I
Thank you.
appreciate it.
9 o'clock.
Okay.
All right, Happy Coffee. I know Julie sent out a separate email saying that they chose not to come tonight or pursue this avenue and
Well,
paid.
we adopted an agenda that had that struck from it. So I don't think we
Oh, we
can talk
did?
about it anymore.
Right, but there was an amended agenda.
Oh,
that
I'm
went out.
looking at the whole packet because that
Yeah.
was, never mind.
Yeah, the
Sorry.
amended agenda took it out.
Yep.
No,
Okay,
it's in your email.
thank you. Because I just have the,
I have two windows because of that. I've been to Denise. you've
So
caught me.
what was added was the e-bike shed location at, building material at the park.
And that's not in the packet?
It is not, so this went out yesterday, scrambling a little bit, so I can put the information in the email. But I do have some information for you that I can share right now. Want me to go ahead, Denise?
Yeah.
Okay. So we had a vendor want to, every year, we get different vendors down at Waterfront Park. And we approved a contract for a vendor to rent like paddle boards and give some lessons as people rent them, things of that nature. You've probably seen that at the corner of the park closest to the yacht club. Well, this year when he met with the Parks Committee, they had said they were interested in e-bike rentals. He said, yeah, I can get e-bike rentals, but I'm gonna have to put the batteries in a shed or the bikes in a shed. And we said, well, we have to go out there and find a location for you. We have to see if you can have power. He went and put the shed up anyway, I think trying to be proactive. Parks Committee went out there last week and said, well, we prefer it to be in this location. So I'm gonna pass out this little piece of paper, very fuzzy. The blue box is kind of where it would go. Basically, the shed right now is kind of tucked in the trees up by the water. It doesn't meet setbacks because Plan Commission requires it to be 50 feet from the ordinary head water mark, 50 feet from a side lot line, and it's within feet of the yacht club. 40 feet from a front lot line, edge of easement or edge of pavement, clearly meets that. 50 feet from the street. So the
it kind of
location,
ended up, if you took all those setbacks, it was in the middle of the park.
Who's the vendor?
my mind is blank.
Is it the people that have the kayak business?
Yes. Yeah,
Yes.
the same people.
Okay.
It's the same people.
Is this north of?
So up is north, yep. So like I said, it's a terrible photo, but yacht club, that lane you see on the left is yacht club property. To the right is our sidewalk that goes, our walkway along the beach. The top would be the water, the bottom would be the parking lot.
And so what the Parks Committee discussed is, I think there's a good way to do this, I guess. Is that it's currently over here-ish. And we decided to, over here. So it's more towards water. We pulled it back here to kind of be even with the outside wall of the building. So that the unit owners didn't have to look at it unless they were sitting and, looking that way. So we tried to pull it back and we thought that was the best line where it would still fit because it narrows because of the path is on an angle. So we wanted to be off the sidewalk a little bit, and the farther we went down, there just wasn't enough space.
And this way you don't have it in the actual park.
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah, if you met setbacks, it'd be on that lawn area. We didn't want that.
yeah.
And Denise is right, and I forgot about that. Where it is right now, it's tucked away nice. You really can't see it from the park.
Right.
But if you're at the yacht club
In that one,
and you look out, you can
Unit.
see it.
well, or the 3 units that,
So pulling it back, so pulling it back where it's shown on the diagram, violates that side yard setback, but it also protects the yacht club people, so they don't have to look at a shed. We agreed we would plant trees on the south side of that shed to kind of protect the view as you're going down Mill Road or from the parking lot. You don't see that shed right away, so there would be some arborvitae, I think we agreed, Denise.
well, cedars.
Cedars.
Cedars, that would be planted right there then that would screen it from view. The only other thing we need approval on then is the code does not allow metal buildings, metal ribbed buildings, and it's a metal shed.
Where's the electrical?
So, he does not have any electrical run to the building right now.
He doesn't need it.
But if it's a temporary building, why would he do that?
Well, so I think he must be taking the batteries out and bringing them home every day to charge them. Because
Okay,
there is no easy way, there's no, outlet nearby. And it violates state code to run the extension cords across the park. You'd have people tripping, there's OSHA concerns. So he must be taking the batteries home every day.
but aren't they only good for like so many hours? I mean, if somebody rents it for half the day and then it comes back and it's in demand, he's gonna have dead batteries.
50
That's his
miles,
problem.
50 miles is what you get out of them, so, yeah, you're gonna get probably 2-3 hours.
What is the setback as this is drawn here
Not much.
from the property line?
2-3 feet.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember, is there a fence there?
There is.
There is,
There's a
okay,
split
so it's
rail.
only the higher buildings looking down that we can see back there. So we don't-
Actually, no, none of the buildings should be able to see it back there because it is pulled back. So it's not waterward of the front wall of the yacht club. So I
If you look
suppose
out
you
the
could see out a
side,
window.
out the side window, you could
Yeah.
see it. And if you were sitting on your patio looking at the water, if you turned your chair this way, yes,
Yeah,
you'd be
you let
looking.
it back in the town.
And it's movable and it's only for the season. And I do think that, we should have a conversation at a future, plan commission meeting on allowing some seasonal structures and what our criteria would be, so we don't kind of have to wing it and twist and turn.
I mean, I've got one, it's not a strong concern, but if this is a vendor that has a 1-year contract or is it a 3-year contract, 1 year, that, does he take this building with him at the end of the season?
Actually, I think it is a 3-year contract.
I think we would ask him to.
I do have an issue with the metal.
I'm sorry, Skip, real quick. When Parks did talk about it, he did say it would be temporary, he would move it every year. Do you remember that? Yeah. So that shed would be coming and going every year, which almost does more damage because with the metal shed, it's getting dented up, and they start looking pretty bad pretty quick.
Well, on Parks 2, I dug around till I found it. It said it was gonna be a wood shed. So now you're saying it's metal?
It is metal. We could authorize a metal shed, this contract, provided it's not moved every year, so it doesn't get beat up. And if he wishes to do it for the next contract, it has to be a wood one.
No, I would not do it for the entire contract. I would do it for this season
This
only.
season only.
I mean, you're saying that he already just put it there without permission and he's asking forgiveness, so.
Well, he doesn't even have the contract. I think there was some misunderstanding on his part. I don't know. The documentation he had from the office was very clear that the committee had to walk the property, find a site for it. We would be back in contact with him. He wouldn't put the shed out there, and I believe he is renting. I think he's renting these bikes. I don't know. And I don't know how long the shed's been there.
Not a good start.
No. What does he keep his kayaks in, or doesn't he have anything?
So that's like a little, I call it a fruit cart. I don't know what you want to call it.
Is it this far back or is it on the
It's
water?
down on the water, down on the beach.
Okay.
I mean, we can, if there's strong opinions, we can also say no.
wood seems practical to me. I don't like the metal set idea. You make ice fishing sets out of wood, at least I used to in the old days. And you can haul them on a trailer and drop them where you need them. You could take it, put it there and take it away as needed in the season.
And then by code, you wouldn't have to worry because those could be put anywhere. Yeah.
The ice fishing shanties.
Yes.
It's not an ice fishing.
That's a
shanty.
whole other from sometime long ago.
I mean, it's, it is metal. I will say, it's not ugly, but it is metal.
You're hard pressed to, I mean, like, I walked by it quite a few times before I even noticed it. It wasn't until I actually did the walkthrough that I noticed that.
Yeah.
It blends in much
Well,
better than you
because of
think.
where they put it, which was a really great spot. You know, in between some trees there, and it fit great and was less, I mean, we're putting it in a much more visible spot.
I mean, once again, if you start setting precedent, you bet the very bad, everybody asking for metal shed.
That's why I think we have to come up with.
I did say
And,
that.
okay, and so you said in the minutes of the parks, it said wood.
Yeah, it's the April 7th meeting, page 30 to 32.
Well, I mean, it's not our fault that he went out and purchased something and also placed it without permission
Right.
when we talked about wood.
Again, just to make sure.
I did tell man this week he could not have much.
Okay, I'm gonna make a motion to deny. Motion by Berto,
Second,
second by Schiff. Any further discussion?
I have some discussion.
Okay.
So if he does come back with a wood shed, would we at least approve the setback? Or just bring it back? Just tonight, we either,
Just, I would ask him to bring it back, because I think if he would have a conversation with somebody from the yacht club and their owners and a picture of a wood building, where he has it is really the best spot, if they would not be opposed to it.
Isn't this also falling into parks? Is the first stop? I mean, we're the setback part of it, but doesn't parks have the initial approval?
well, they showed interest. He said, well, let me know, because if you're interested, I'll order the bikes. We said, well, we gotta walk the property yet, we gotta do this. It took, as you can see, 2 months to walk the property. By the time we did, the shed was there. So, okay, denied.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Now, that doesn't mean his e-bike rental is done. I mean, he still could pursue that, he just can't have a shed with it.
He can trailer in and
He could
out,
do- That's what I was
just
just
like
gonna
they
say.
do with the alpacas,
If,
right?
and parks approved the wood building.
Yeah.
So it's not that he, just not a metal building.
So that will go in somebody's tickler file, that we look at accessory structures for vendors in parklands.
I'll go in somebody's.
Oh, I see where he's got it, because I'm looking at the minutes from the park. So it was much closer to the beach,
Not a lot,
but on the other side of the trees.
yeah. Okay, if there's nothing else, at 6:49, is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make motion.
Motion by Hart,
Second.
second by Kane, all in favor?
Aye.
Carried.
Now that we're done, I realized I forgot to put the permit report in there again. And I'm sorry, I am so sorry. It's just gonna look great, you know, but I,